Welcome to this presentation on how spiral dynamics training can be useful to you. Today, we're going to talk about a few key points. One of the things we'll talk about is how different people have different backgrounds with spiral dynamics. We'll also talk about what this stuff is really about. We'll talk about how people use spiral dynamics and applications that they've engaged in, and we'll also talk about how others have reported benefits after having taken our training. And we'll also talk a little bit about what people learn as a result of training. So, different people come to spiral dynamics perhaps through a web search. Maybe you've gone to our website, maybe you have read introductions that others have written, perhaps in magazines or in books, maybe you've read some of Ken Wilber's writing, or maybe you've heard others talking about spiral dynamics and what a difference it's made in their lives. So maybe you're brand new to it, or maybe you've been interested in it for a little while, and you've read the Spiral Dynamics book, maybe you've read some of the work of Claire W. Graves, whose work forms the foundation to this model, or maybe you've actually taken some training. My name is Natasha Todorovic, and this is my partner and co-trainer, Chris Cowan. He's co-author of the book, Spiral Dynamics, and he had the privilege of working with Claire Graves for the last decade of his life. Claire Graves, as you may know, was the theoretician behind the spiral dynamic simplification and popularization of his work. Together, Chris and I consult and train around the world using this model. He's been working with it since the mid-70s, and I've been working with it since the early 90s. And together, we've been working with it around the world since 1998 in multiple different countries, both consulting, training, coaching, and applying it in many different ways. Some of your training is going to involve learning about various assessments and tools as well as approaches to assessment. These will help you with coaching, with training, with your consulting, and with analysis. And these tools will also provide you with insight into the differences between people, how they think, how they behave, how they change, and how they function in this world. So, for some people, participating in spiral dynamics training is about personal growth, and for others, it's about professional development. It's a tool for improving education, management, and organizations. And at the same time, many people experience this training as a journey. From the very mundane to the most inspirational, together, in class, we take a trip through the human story, through your story, through everything you've ever done, every thought you've ever had, every place you've ever been, every person you've ever met and interacted with. All of the heartaches, problems, and joys you've ever experienced become immensely valuable, and you'll need it all to understand the mosaic of your life. All of it will help you to understand this work more profoundly, because this is a framework for those who've lived and for those who want to understand human nature. Well, maybe you remember the movie Groundhog Day. The movie in which Bill Murray wakes up and finds that every day he has to live through the same experiences of the same day over and over and over again. Maybe you feel like Bill Murray sometimes. Maybe you feel like you're going around in circles. Maybe you feel like you're stuck on the same axis. Maybe your talents and potential are going unrecognized. Or maybe you keep switching the cars, but you feel like you're stuck on the same old ride. Well, spiral dynamics is about the emergent, unfolding processes in life. The journey into the world looks at moving outside and looking towards the external. Maybe you've been through events that still haunt you. Perhaps you're trying to explain things that have happened, or you're trying to confront patterns in new ways. And this is all part of the evolving process of this model that helps you get off that old axis and begin to frame old things in new ways. And then there's the involution, the journey into the self. And perhaps you're looking for new ways to understand who you are and your role and place in this world, and how you can make a difference and explore the world within in new ways. So with this model, you'll find that you'll take your talents, your skills, and knowledge, which are kind of like this building, and you'll frame them using spiral dynamics like a scaffolding. And that'll allow your projects to come alive because it's a way of getting to different places, seeing from different angles, and getting to different spots and making your projects and work much more effective and making you much more efficient at working with them. So, as we go through life, we tend to collect models. We tend to collect frameworks. We look at different approaches for solving problems. We're exposed to new tools, different techniques, and varying schools of thought in our professions. When our friend Lair Ribeiro introduced us to a group in Brazil, he introduced us in the model in this way. He said that if I gave you a pearl one day, you might tuck it into your pocket, and then maybe a week later I'll give you another pearl, and you'll put it on the bedside table, and a week later maybe I'll give you another pearl, and you'll put it somewhere where it's very safe. And maybe a month later I'll ask you, well, what did you do with that first pearl I gave you? And you might say, well, it fell out of my pocket in the laundry and I couldn't find it again. Oh, well, what about the next pearl? Said, well, it was on my bedside table, but it rolled off and I can't seem to find it. Well, what about the third pearl? Well, that's in a place that's so safe I forgot where it was. If we don't have a string or a framework like spiral dynamics, then you'll find that the pearls end up scattering. All that knowledge is for naught, because there's no way to organize it. And this framework actually helps us organize it so it becomes useful, so we can string the pearls of knowledge together. Many people, as they're coming to this model, find that they're seeking deeper, more profound connections with others. What does being human mean? How can we be more effective as colleagues, friends, parents, siblings, and members of this human family? How do we connect with others in more profound ways? And then there are many large-scale events which are changing our world. We're discussing issues of sustainability, climate change, globalization, the impacts of human life on other species. We're living through resource wars, rising oceans, lack of water. What about the full impacts to our whole living system for now and in the future? And maybe there's an important relationship in your life that's gotten a little bit rocky, and maybe you need a different perspective on why things are the way they are and what you can do differently. So spiral dynamics is about the whole person. It's also about the whole organization and the whole society and the whole human species, because it's about how we perceive and how we deal with our world. So your explorations can be focused in these different areas. And in our training, we try to show how mind, body, and spirit might connect for people and how they think about these things and why there's so many different opinions and views about these different ways of thinking. Essentially, spiral dynamics cuts through the fog. Rather than looking at what is happening, we want to understand the underlying deeper dynamics, and this helps us to cut through that fog to understand what those underlying patterns are. Spiral dynamics is about exploring everything: the creative, the spiritual, the religious, the economic, the political, human relations, everything that humans create and that impact human nature. And it's about who we are. When you join us for a program, you'll find insights and rich case studies that are drawn from examples from all over the world. Claire Graves often referred to this model as my point of view. And as we go through the systems, you'll find that they're like glasses, and they allow us to see different things from different perspectives. They give us access to new worlds. For example, we have a client who expanded to China, and he said he couldn't have done it without this approach to inform him about a new and different culture and a new and different way of life.